Hello, everybody. Welcome to KFDA. This is your host, Father Deacon Ananias. We are taking calls this beautiful Thursday morning, live from Helena, Montana. Um, so I got this phone call. Have you ever had this happen? Let's say this is maybe like 6 years ago. Uh, Obviously, I had a 714. That's an Orange County area code when I lived in Orange County. It was a shocker. It's crazy. Bro, that's crazy. How did that happen? When I came to Montana, I got a new phone, new number. All of Montana, there's only one area code. It's 406. And I'm assuming they assign you a number from a discontinued number. So the number that I have, I'm not going to give it to you online because I'll have a bunch of wackos calling me. The number that I have must have been some lady's number at some point in the history of the cosmos. And I get these, whoever the lady was must kind of had some issues because I'm constantly getting these phone calls from like lawyers and the prosecute, like different, just weird bails bonds and stuff like that, leaving a message thinking I'm this lady. I'm like, so okay, maybe like within a year of you getting the new phone number, but doesn't it seem weird that it's like 6 years? Um, but she just no. What I want to know is like, this lady's obviously been in some legal trouble. Does she continue to give her old number? Like, they'll never be able to get a hold of me. Or they just have, like, these people are pulling up, like, really old files and seeing a number and trying to. But then I kind of feel bad. It's like. It's like, because that's pretty serious. Like, if you don't contact us. The other thing, too, is like, what if it's a scam? I'm always paranoid it's a scam. I have called back sometimes and told people like, you've got the wrong number. I don't know why this lady's listed on my number, but I've had this number for 6 years. Like, please make the correction, and they're fine. So obviously those people aren't scams, but um, have you ever had this experience before? What's crazy if I list? Wonder if you can look this stuff up, right? Who or they charge you like who has this number, right? Who has this phone number? Reverse phone. The problem is with all these things, it's like you go to do it and they're like, they want to charge you. Sign up. Let's see if it does it. Is it going to give it to me for free or is it going to make me sign up? Yeah, do these stupid things. White pages? Are all these things like that? They won't let you. Man, gone are the days. Let me tell you about how the world used to be. Hey, Melissa, can you turn the air conditioner on? Yeah, they're all. I mean, there used to be actually a book called the white pages. You have the yellow pages for business, white pages, and you can look this up. Now everything was digitalized. And then you enter this in, and they want you to like paste, like put your credit card down and stuff like that. But Nicker 999. Everybody keeps asking me at the Malpass. Probably not. Every stream somebody comes in here. Please tell me it's not the same person. I hope. From what I watched a little bit of it. I sent it to one of my godsons who I grew up with, like doing tag, and I'm like, you watch the rest of it because like the first part of it was pretty bad. I'd prefer not to give him attention. I wouldn't mind debating Oppie, but to be honest, unless somebody can convince me otherwise, I don't want to give him the attention. Like, I think he has a cult, like Malpitians, and so I responded to some of the guys that had written about a year or so ago criticisms of tag that I thought were. I'm not going to just sit there and watch a whole video of him making straw mans, but what I've like, that was the whole first part of it. People were like, it's really good, the critique. It's like, what's the critique? And they can't tell me other than just a general, well, he disagrees with your first and second order. That doesn't tell me. I find Graham Oppie he doesn't want to debate tag, but I find him much more respectful. Anyways, I don't want to say any more about. But why? I don't understand why people are spurging out about this. Like, you've got to debate. Are you worried? That's what I want to know. I'm just going to concede. Malpass is correct. The paper is slop. And he wins. What's there to debate? I concede the debate to Alex Malpass. My arguments for tag are worthless, and I can't be defended. So I'm not gonna. I hand it over to. He won. Whatever his video critique is, obviously so good that what am I gonna do? So sorry guys, it was a good run. But no, I can't defend the indefensible. What in the world? Did I just hit something wrong? Engage with my audience? I'm trying to get rid of these stupid emojis. Close. Okay, here we go. Okay, also, you have to know me. The more somebody wants me to do something, the less I want to do it. Like contrary character. I'm like, nah. I'm tripping on this whole phone thing. You know, if I was a paranoid man, I would think, how'd they get my number? A premium package, yeah. Oh, glory to God. Being received in the church August 16th, the day after my birthday. Yeah, it's kind of fun not answering and just watching them like spurg out on. Jay Dyer debated. The guy's like, that was 5 years ago, and Malpass made a response. Congratulate. By the way, I'm confident in the art. Like, that's why I'm not like, oh shoot, I need to respond to. Um, I've handed it over to if my godson Tony, who we grew up working on tag, thinks that like, yeah. What? Why does it say my Wednesday PF discussion can't be? If he says that, yeah, maybe it would be a good idea. I would, but I'm not, other people no. If Jay Dyer said you should, I'd probably. But I'm sorry, no offense, Nick. People that I don't know online, no. Here's a good question. Thoughts on Christian existentialist performance are, for example, Soren Kierkegaard. Yeah, I like it. In fact, I'm gonna plug my friend. Two of my friends who are Kierkegaardian. Do you know what's funny? I was just like, you open these pages and there's like all these like a home page, right? And it has all the different things on there. There's a Wall Street Journal article about Taco Bell, Harper's Bazaar. Natalie Portman shares a rare glimpse into her third part. Now, Natalie Portman's a Jew, right? Funny thing about Jews, especially, have you noticed this among women? They look more Jewy when they get older. And less attractive, too. Is that wrong for me to say? But it's true. I've noticed that. It's like picture of Natalie Portman on my screen that it's just like, man, she really is looking more Jewy than normal. I would love to debate. That would be so fun to do a debate with Jay. Oh, it's Outback Jack. I love you, Outback Jack. Outback. You reckon? He's a guy that is like, somebody get this guy. He has no business being a deacon. Come on, Outback. Isn't it amazing that what makes Outback so triggered? It's kind of odd, isn't it? I really upset you didn't. What? Didn't I? I really upset you, didn't I? Lock the deacon up, yeah. I go to St. Andrews. I'll confront you if I see you there. And do what? I'll be there, bud. Give me your address and your phone number, and I'll come pay you a visit. How about that? was I originally looking up? Yeah, why so much hate? What? The Ecumenical Council, the Episcopal Outback Jack that determines. Oh, Christian existentialism. Thank you. Kierkegaard stop. All right, my colleague Jack, where did you go, man? Trigger Jack, so bad. Oh, I really didn't. I say no, but I enjoy. Jack's like, I'll see you in the synagogue where I go to temple. Yeah. Give me your. I can I know Father. Sorry. Father Josiah. If you're actually Orthodox, you provide me your name, and I'll confirm with Father Josiah that, and then I'll come and make sure that you're not a Jew who goes to, because you certainly act like one. Are you Jewish? Yeah, send me a private. By the way, what's even the Like, I don't even know what the critique is or what the problem is with you. Well, yeah, for no like what's lay it out, Jack? What's the problem with me? Tell me. It's got you so angry that you like to spend all your time. No, but it's the way that you dislike me. No, people just exactly great. Cry out as you strike. That's why, Jack. So that's a 20-year-old edgelord Zoomer, and you look 60. Yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot. I read the canon about And what makes you so qualified to actually... Why are you the one person that has made this like... So all the priests, all the clergy advisors for like... Who've never said that, but Jack... Jack figured it out. Like, what is it, Jack, that you have that all the clergy and elders and holy people that give me advice and correction couldn't see? That's what I want to know. What makes you so special, Jack? The Council of Jack has spoken. And including your own priest, by the way, who doesn't have... We're friends with and doesn't have a problem. I'll answer the question, Jack. What is it that you have that's so special above everybody else? No, that's not my question. My question is, people are obviously much more advanced than you are, who are actually clergy, don't agree with that, don't believe that. So what special insight do you have, Jack, that makes you more qualified than all of them? All the clergy, the bishops. And why spend so much time in here waste? Like, if you don't like, why do you watch my stuff then? Like, just... I've never demanded, like, you have to like me and like my humor. Alright. Well, I just don't understand why I was forcing you to like me and watch my stuff. Don't watch it. Like, seriously, for your own good. If it upsets you, lay it aside. I don't... Don't do this to yourself. Like, don't put yourself in a position, like, of making yourself upset and annoyed. Yeah, it's like torturing yourself online. Nobody says you have to watch all our videos and spend time arguing with us about... Alright. Okay, my friend, Dr. Mark Bernier, he's an Orthodox, he's also a philosophy professor, and we used to work together. We had our first job together at Azusa Pacific University. We worked at Cal State Fullerton together, and I'm going to plug his... He's a Kierkegaardian scholar. Of all the Western kind of non-Orthodox Christian philosopher, I think Kierkegaard's pretty close in a lot of stuff. So here is his book, published through Oxford, The Task of Hope and Kierkegaard. I recommend that. Also, Dr. Stephen DeLay is really good. He's not Orthodox yet. Kierkegaard. Huh. I didn't know there was a video on.
Though both he and Cantor conceded that the historical critical...
So check out Dr. Stephen DeLay too. Oh, the sound is low when I was playing. It was low. I didn't mean to play the audio for you. Lady Vlad, 499, can you please explain the difference between sinful judgment and just making a judgment call? Yes, great question. We'll have Jack answer. Jack's obviously the infallible authority. Jack is the sinless and epistemic infallible counsel. So I defer to Jack, Bishop Jack, Saint Jack. Okay, first I would say that remember what the so there's different notions of judgment. Just basically making a decision. Now that can have different. It either could be making intellectual decision, like if I say the tree and grass are green, that's a type of judgment. It could be a judgment about a state of affairs, a person's character, but also there's legal judgment in the sense of the authority. Now we're told not to judge specifically in terms of the final state of one's soul and whether they'll be saved. Why? Because that's a type of normative judgment, or sorry, a legal judgment that has an authority that we don't have. So we say that judgment is God's alone. So, for example, when it says call no man roca, don't call anybody a fool, but yet the Bible calls people fools, and it's foolish in that context because shocking words have multiple meanings in different contexts. It was often understood to call one a fool is that they were like a reprobate, incapable of being saved. And that judgment is for God alone. So they would say, don't call a man a fool, because that was kind of understood as he's incapable of being of redemption and saved, and only God knows. But you can certainly make a righteous judgment. Somebody's acting foolish, like Jack here. And again, how do we know that? Maybe the deacon's deluded. Maybe I was triggered. And you can't trust me. Well, that's why it says in Scripture, a wise man seeks multiple counsel. So you have to ask yourself, Jack, that if everybody's thinking you're acting insane, and there's some sort of issue that you have, namely, if something's bothering you, you imagine there was a store that just was so stinky and I did or just didn't like. There was something I didn't like, but I just kept going into it. That would be odd behavior. We would again tell you like, look, nobody's telling you got to shop at that store. Number two, it's just contrary to orthodox. Your lady, there are actually canons about respecting your elders, your clerical elders. You're not like you can. I mean, you're free to mess up, right? But as far as prescriptions, you ought not to, whether I call your behavior Jewish or not, it's not your place to criticize the way that you did that. You can go to Father Josiah and be like, hey, I was upset with what Father Deacon, or go to Father Russell. Talk to Father Russell and be like, I got a real problem with your deacon. Okay, that's the proper way of doing it. Be respectful. And that's why we were mocking your behavior. I don't think you're actually Jewish. See, that's what I'm saying, is that you're not supposed to act that way. It's disrespectful to... I don't care about me, it's the office. Okay? And I am a baller. Like, I don't mind a good... Alright? Now, if everybody... You gotta, like, have some awareness, Jack. If everybody's thinking you're insane and acting in a non-orthodox and wacko way, you might just consider, like, I might be the problem. Then take it to your priest. Okay? Those are just kind of like clues that's why I said, yeah, I would take your opinion a little bit more seriously if the council of clergy that I surround myself to correct me, because I know, like, I've made mistakes before. Thought that, you know what, you shouldn't say it. You shouldn't act like that. You shouldn't make jokes that appeal to 20-year-olds, because you're almost 50 and you look like you're 77 or 60, whatever, Jack. I would take that. No, it's you have to respect all clergy. Sorry, otherwise you're not Orthodox. You're not acting Orthodox, and to your own detriment. I mean, you're free to do that, but it's not without consequences. It's to, again, you don't have to be happy with what every clergy is, how they act, but you have to be respectful to. See, that's like, I don't know if you know, those are defrockable. I mean, not defrockable, you know, excommunicatable offenses. Like, to actually, even clergy I don't like, I'm respectful to them. I don't say, I don't have to respect you because I don't like you. All right. You don't want to repent. You don't want help, like, bettering yourself. Like, I'm not going to fight with you. Like, I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to tell you, you can't do that in Orthodox. You don't get to decide what clergy I can publicly disrespect. Well, so, good riddance, Jack. May the Lord... See, like, who talks this way? Maybe God put me in your life to annoy you so that you can go inward. I often think that if I have somebody in my life that annoys me, what do I do? To just go online and just look at this. Probably go inward, and I mean, I try to, and be like, why? What is in me that I could fix that bothers me so much? That's what I'm trying to help you with, Jack. In the end of the day, you have a couple choices. I'm not. No, don't let him. Did it look like he wants to? He wants to get me upset. He's not. Dak, trust me. There's people that have said much more upsetting stuff than you have. Nobody's here to force you to like me. But all I can do in departing and having you depart from here is offer you some advice. First of all, you don't speak that way to any clergy, whether they're wrong or right. If you have a problem with a clergy member, there's a proper order of like how to go about doing that. Okay? Talk to your priest. Talk to Father Russell, who I'm willing to be, corrected, but in the right way. Number two, if everybody is thinking you're acting insane, maybe you should take a look instead of, you know what? When you're pointing your finger, what do they say? There's three fingers pointing back. Just maybe you should take a look at yourself and see, is there something in me that's making me so upset about? No, it's everybody else. Do you know that's a road to perdition, right? It's everybody else's fault. Third, if you can't work that out, quit going into the thing that makes you upset. That's my final. Yeah, who knows? He was just saying I acted like a 20-year-old as a 50, that I shouldn't. Which is interesting. Notice that this is I guarantee, ask him if he likes Jay Dyer. All these people, any hate that I usually get is because I'm linked with Jay Dyer. I guarantee it. And I don't mind that. I love Jay. He's one of my best friends, and I support him. But you should ask him, do you like Jay Dyer? He had already said something in here about he can't watch me and Jay. I always find it weird too. No subscribers. They just create these kind of sock accounts. I find like it's just crazy behavior. Come to my parish and what's a threat? Like, I'll confront you, being hit me. But it's the reason why I brought up Jay is it's the same critiques. It's never, because it's extremely subjective, and biased, and I'd say actually unqualified to, as a lady or just some random person, to make, the way that you behave. Now, like, unless it was just like, at the extremes, like, oh, he was punching people on camera and like, running around nude or something, like, obviously, right? Like the extremes. But in other areas, no. Like, it's always like, well, Jay doesn't act like Jay's not holy enough. Deacon's acting like like that's all subjective. And in terms of behavior, unless it's the extremes, um, you as lady don't get an opinion on that. And if you do, you go to exactly what I said. You go the proper route. That's how Orthodox works. If you don't want to be Orthodox, I don't know what to tell you. But it's never something that's much more objectively able to like be critiqued or handled. You're incorrect about what you said theologically. So I don't care. This is all the same. It's the fake virtue, piety signaling. You're not acting like. I don't care what you like. I don't know you. And you'll waste our time. And no, you didn't make me upset. A little annoying, but I thank you, Jack, for becoming an example that we could talk about in terms of how do you heal yourself and the ways that you go about not healing yourself. So thank you. All right. Derek Drugsman, $10. How I know whether to stay friends, to bring him into the church, or cut ties to protect my own soul. I just started inquiring to Orthodoxy, so in some of this feels like a trial. Oh, you know him? That's hard. One second. Okay, I'm reading the. I have no subs. I'm not a sub. Okay. Yeah, I guess that's not a great argument. But why? Help me out here. You're also not acting like a wacko. Is there a link though that like? So let me put it in logical. Just because you don't have any subs, or maybe you just created a YouTube account a couple days ago, doesn't indicate anything. However, that you're a problem or a wacko, a goblin. However, if you act like a wacko goblin demon, demon tard, and then you do have no subscribers and it's not, that might be an indication of something. Is that right? So it's not a strict logical necessity, but like many things, it's like there's still like a causal, some sort of causal connection. Is that correct? All right, hold on. I'm trying to figure out Derek's question. Jack's on the dole. Oh, I see. I have a longtime friend who keeps trying to convince me of gibberish tongues, signs, wonders. Oh, okay, sorry, I didn't see the previous. And he's currently decided not to eat any food until he gets. That's crazy. Which one's crazier, Jack or that? Or I'm gonna go into my mind and think like of a really good friend who's not Orthodox, and what would I do if I was in. All right, here we talked a little bit about this yesterday. There's the true and the false. Do you always have to say something because it's true? Obviously, it's false what your friend is believing and doing. And it's true, he should become Orthodox. Okay? Here's the question, though. Now, what you do and say, what helps the situation and what doesn't? Do you find that if you talk to him more, you think that he would be convinced? If you think no, probably not, then I would back off. If you find that the more time that you spend trying to talk to him about this stuff, it's detrimental to your state of being, just like Jack. If you find that constantly coming on here and watching my stuff and arguing with me makes you more upset, maybe you should not do that. If you find that that puts you in a spiritually dangerous state and you're doing and saying unorthodox things to the detriment of your soul, maybe you shouldn't do that. Even if you're right, Jack, that everything you said about me is correct, what about you? What about improving the situation? Like, what improves? Does it advance your situation in terms of your spiritual progress or anybody else? No, then why are you doing it? It doesn't make any sense to me. And same with Derek. Like, Derek, if that situation and correspondence, I'm not saying you don't defriend him, but it's like, if staying in constant conversation with him is causing problems for you, then I would step away for, like, I wouldn't be as involved. That's my, and that's hard. Did you know, do you, do Tiffer, I was in San Diego 3 weeks ago? Did you see me in San Diego? I was at what? July 5th. Why did I blank on the name of the parish? No, St. Basil's was San Juan Capistrano. Um, St. George's. How could I forget? St. George is one of my favorite saints. Father Brazzo's and Father Paul's parish. It's really hard, Derek. Like, again, I don't ever encourage like forcing conversations. They have to be natural, and that takes a level of kind of discernment of experience of uh like, well, there's an opening where I think you'd be willing to hear something, and it'll always have the feeling of coming off natural, because we've all been in situations, right? Let's say you're at a party or a gathering or something like that, and somebody's socially awkward. The conversation feels forced, inauthentic, something like you don't want to be like that. You want to be kind of open, right? So you don't go in with like an idea. This is what I'm going to talk to the person of, like, and I got to get this. Just be open, uh, and let it kind of like flow. If that, if you do decide, like, I'm open to conversations with him, but again, you ultimately have to ask whether generally looking at the situation or in the specifics when you are hanging about. Again, just with the Jack situation, Is it helpful? Maybe true, but does it progress the situation for either one of us? If not, don't say anything. No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, did you see the logical? Just because you have 0 followers and 1 or 2 accounts doesn't mean that you are a weirdo. However, if you're a weirdo and there's some sort of link there. So it goes the other way for. Does that make sense? And not a logical necessity. Why? I could just see one example is yeah, Father Paul's awesome. But you know what church I'm talking about, right? St. George. I'm not figuring out what telling the truth makes you feel. No. Alright, I'm getting lost in this conversation. Alright, let's see if there's any other questions. There's like I don't get like you should ask like we should do like a stream on what is it about. I'm saying I think it's something with like that I'm linked to Jay because there's something that just triggers people like just the craziest people out there and they become obsessed. You should see the crazy emails that both of us we've talked about. I'm like I've shared like look at this like death threats like I'm like I don't get it like it's and you have a target on you but like once you're more public and like the image is out there and you can see this sort of kind of obsession and just like that grows into like hatred and I wild. All right, that's enough. Oh, okay. So my godson Tony that I was telling you about. Yes. So I went to church on Sunday and everybody was talking about the Matt Slick debate, and I'm like 6 years ago. And my godson Tony, we were talking yesterday, and he was like, everybody at his church was talking about it. He's like, and I came on my, and I'm like, yeah, this is really weird. It is, and I said, I think a couple different things. It's because somebody re-uploaded it. I don't know if it's a bigger channel. It drew attention. Number two, you have to understand how the algorithms are working. Okay. I think something got connected somehow to DebateCon. And then 3 or 4 weeks ago, when when the Tucker Jay thing was released, and Jay made a criticism of Protestantism. Remember the penal substitutionary atonement, and the reformers being influenced by nominalism, which comes from Heiko Oberman's book Harvest of Medieval Theology. And people lost their mind. It was really weird. And I talked to my godson about this. I'm like, there's something about nominalism. If you say like this, is premised on nominalism, or the influence of nominalism is linked to this kind of error. People lose their mind. I gave this argument a couple of years ago, and there was some crazy like Filipino reform guy that like started doing all these videos like Deacon Nice is a liar. He says that we believe in nominalism and blah blah blah. Like he lost his mind. Like its influence and premise, it works within the nominalist framework, which this is a Protestant scholar, Heiko Obermann. It's not like something Orthodox just came up with. Okay. Then because Jay critiqued Protestantism of the Tucker, well, now it's all over. And maybe that's what activated this Jack guy. Because I noticed that at like, if something's becomes big, all the goblins come like are triggered and come out, which is exactly what you saw. And then you saw all the Protestants like losing their minds, and they were tripping out about this nominalism critique. Number two, I saw somebody kind of tripping out when I was like, yes, some of these formalism within logic, kind of modern logic and stuff like that, come about because of a denial of real essentialism. You know, whether it necessitates it, no, I don't. But there's a link there, like, right? If there are no more essences, if you adopt a kind of anti-realism that it's like, well, we can't really know what the world is. What happens is, Dr. David Patrick Harry and I have said, in philosophy, it goes two ways. It merges, it goes into phenomenology, just the kind of phenomenological, you start with the experience, the phenomenon, or it goes into analytic, where it's just, which is accepts nominalism, that it's just like, well, it's just the structures of language and mathematical models and set theory, and you know, like it becomes more kind of formal. And people are getting upset that I even said that. It's all linked to nominalism, so it's really a weird, like if you bring up nominalism, people. The third one is the Dr. Nathan Jacobs. Look on his, how upset people are getting that they're saying that Dr. Nathan Jacobs' argument is that evolution's premised on nominalism. So I haven't figured that out. Why is that a trigger for people? Okay. But what I will say, going back to, it obviously triggered a bunch of Protestants. They started making videos, like all this stuff kind of kicked back up. So I think it's a combination of three things. I think, what was the debate? Like there's debates right now. There was these issues about Orthodoxy versus Protestantism, because they started doing all these videos about why Orthodoxy is wrong, right? Particularly after the Tucker. And then some guy re-uploaded it. And that's why that's my theory. The algorithms promoted that. Thanks for the encouragement, help. I'll take it to prayer and put my obedience to Christ first. Praise for you. Yes, Derek. Thank you so much. We'll be praying for you. My theory is the bigger somebody gets, because you saw this, like, you certainly see it in like Hollywood, where whatever's going on in a person's life, whether there's not much. Here's the thing. Here's what I have. let's put in our mind a confident person, confident man, um, that's successful in his marriage, feels the joy and blessings that God has bestowed and the gifts that he's in turn uh, worked and offered back to God, and has things like in terms of orthodox, like what the virtues going for him. Do you think that's the sort of person that gets upset about public figures and freaks out? No, they're probably like, I don't care. Why? Because they're confident in who they are, what they do, who they love, what they've done with their family, etc. Okay. So something going on in these people's lives that's not that. Uh Whether they haven't achieved certain kind of virtues or just there's fear or there's insecurities, whatever it may be, it's certainly not the man that I described. Okay? So what happens? These sort of people, we could take the precedent from like what we've seen from like people become obsessed with Hollywood, whether it's starts as an envy, whether and then that turns into um, jealousy and then hatred, or the other thing is that it's just publicly out there and highlights the inadequacies of one's own life, and they become obsessed with. And rather, again, that's why it's if I get upset and if I have a problem, I've tried to train myself to be like, okay, because initially I'm looking and be like, it's this person that did it, it's this situation, and I have to train myself to be like, hold it, hold on, we need to go inward. Deacon, what's making you mad about? What is in you that needs to be okay? In these situations, these individuals don't do that. They continue to look outward, and that's why they've accused um, him of being acting Jewish, not because you don't like me, because you're playing victim, right? What is it? The famous phrase that Jews will always tell you what happened to them, but never why. Right? It's everybody else's fault. It's just like you didn't do anything, right? It's a that's a in terms of colloquial phrase, like you are Jewish. You're acting. That's a. And again, I'm not saying every Jewish. What's the phrase? Hold on, you like this? It goes. Oh, not every. It goes. Hold on, no, this is a good one. Oh, I can't believe it. It's a great. Not every Jew, but every time. Something like that. You've heard. All right. Because we love our Jewish converts. I'm not. I'm saying I'm picking up the stereotype and telling you well like what that colloquial term means. All right. Um. So I think that's what happens is that the more public somebody, that's why I didn't get any of this until I linked up with Jay. Like, see this kind of stuff. And part two is that roughly around the same time that I started becoming friends with Jay is when I launched my YouTube. So, out of sight, out of mind. I never would have had that target on. But it's just people, you've seen the behavior that people like, and this is what I love about Jay, is it exposes, Jay somehow has this unique quality of character and rhetoric that he can bring out the hiding demon goblin in us all if you have one in you. And that's what you see. And then they just become obsessed with, and then it turns into, so how do you know that something's also demonic? It's irrational. It's emotive. It's all over the place. Do you see what I mean? That's how I kind of knew. And then I'm like, something's up with, and then it becomes obsessive. So how do we also know it's demonic? Because it's always blaming everybody else. It's always this person's problem. I suppose it is me. Suppose I'm just everything that the haters say. Who cares? Like, what? Fix yourself. Like, make it so no matter where you're at, because this is what I want. Like I told my priestess in confession, I'm like, I'll tell you who I don't want to be. I don't want to be the person that's like, oh, he's a great guy when everything goes his way. I want to get to a state that the saints had, that no matter how bad people are around or what the situation is, if they have me in a camp, in prison, nothing touches me. Like they say, he's just so full of joy. Where everybody else would be like angry and just blaming, like, I can't believe this situation happened to me. I'd like to get to the point where, because you're released. That's what Christ came. He came to release the captives. I don't want to be held captive by anything. Even if it's somebody else is wrong or the situation is genuinely unjust, and who cares? I want to be wherever I may be and have joy. That's why Christ said to the thief, the good thief on the cross, today you would be with me in paradise. Well, that day was not a paradise situation place. The grave, that's a perfect example of what the saint looks like. But he's with Christ. He has Christ. Doesn't matter where he's at. The very worst place, he has paradise. That's what I want. That's what I want for Jack. That's what I want for Derek. That's what I want for all of you. Okay, going back to this makes me think about the just versus unjust judgment. Unjust judgment, one's salvation. That's because that judgment is an authoritative judgment that you don't have. But in terms, then the other judgments are, did I intellectually judge the situation, the person's character, in the right way? Well, we can certainly say, if it's incorrect, you've judged incorrectly. And then you have to say, why did I judge incorrectly? The situation, the state of affairs. And if it's because of something, well, I wasn't listening to everybody else. Everybody was telling me the problem was me, Jack. And yeah, I just kept blaming the deacon for, that would be a failure of, not that everybody necessitated, but like that would have been a clue that would have been like, maybe there's something. If I was careless at looking at a situation and didn't look at all the things, if I displayed some sort of negligence, right? I misjudged somebody's character. But suppose I misjudged Jack, because there was something the deacon didn't see that I should have. I'm negligent in some way. Then that's an incorrect judgment, and I would ask for Jack's forgiveness. Does that make sense? Or you're a secondhand weed smoker? I really can't stand weed. I was talking to my brother about this when I was in California. I'm like, the more, I don't remember how many years it's been, but it's just, I can't stand the smell of it. And not because it's necessarily like poop, like, I don't know, like dirty, gross smell. It's because it's associated with certain ideas and things in my past that, and vices that I don't like, and I don't like the weed culture, that then theory contaminate the actual smell. I'm just like, I'm sick of smelling that weird. It's like a sweetly, just because we got all these dispensaries in Montana around. It's the same smell that you get from the like weed vape pens too. It's got that sickening kind of sweet smell that I used to like, really actually like the smell of it. Why? Because I agreed with the lifestyle. Now I don't. Anyways. Hey, what's up, Cleve? We're talking about weed. Yeah, but have you ever tried to talk to Jack on weed? Alright, my wife and I were talking about this with my brother. This was really funny. Yeah, I'll tell you what's worse about California. Something about Montanans. So it's legal in Montana, recreationally. They don't smoke weed in public for some reason. I've never figured that out. They must go home into their houses, apartments, and they do it there was somewhat responsibly, right? When I'm in California, everybody's just like, ah, ah. Wait, what? Hey man, do you know how fast you're driving? Wait, what? I thought we were parked. Everybody's just driving like, everybody's just high everywhere, smelling it everywhere. That's definitely, that's California weed smokers for you. And I couldn't believe when we were back in California, I'm like, that's crazy. Like, everybody's on drugs. Just driving around. It's Grand Theft Auto. Like, total lawlessness. Alright, so we were watching this funny clip where these guys are making fun of these people for these stupid vaping kids, nicotine vapes. They're like gonna hotbox their car, and so they're making fun of like hotbox, like people heard about hotboxing with marijuana and weed. They're like vaping nicotine, and the guy's like, "Oh man, it's so hot in here," and they were just stupid kids, and we should watch it. Unfortunately, there's some foul languages, so I don't think I can play it, but it's hilarious. Uh, they're joking. They're like, "What if the kids just think that hot box is like just turning the heater on?" You're like, "Oh." Anyways, it led to a conversation with my wife and my brother that like about hotboxing in its original form is like a car, a enclosed space where people smoke weed, and then you're recycling it, and you're supposed to get higher. And then my wife asked, because there was a person in the car that like wasn't vaping, they were just in there, and the conversation came about in the question that, was there anybody that just goes into a hot box that doesn't actually smoke the weed but gets the secondhand smoke and gets high? I'm like, probably not. If they're willing to get high in a hot box, I'm sure they would be smoking the weed too. All right. Then we started thinking about, is there any actual evidence that you can get high from secondhand smoke, a weed smoke? I was thinking, just from being a kid, I'm like, well, you definitely get, I think, high in a closed. But that's, you can barely even see each other, right? What I don't believe is these stories where, like, somebody was at a concert and I smell, like, I got contact high. That definitely is not true. So, going back to your question, unless you are your roommate or friends in the room and you can barely see each other through a smoke cloud, I doubt it's doing anything to you. There's nothing you and it's not a sin unless you have the intention to be like, hey man, I'm gonna go into the room and get high, right? I hope that helps explain. All right, Cleve, let's see what's going on. Weed talk. Lock them up. This is what I don't like about it too. Not only do lesbian or Montana Pride dispensaries. Is that true? That's crazy because I just saw something about Montana Pride. They're going to bring something in August to do a trans. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Okay, what I think. Should I do my criticism of marijuana? People are so crazy. I'm trying to think of another one that was like, that definitely didn't. Yeah, like that. I got drunk, man. Like, accidentally swallowed the mouthwash and got drunk. Sugar alcohols. I ate a cherry that was soaked in alcohol or something like that. It's like Ben Ituri 499. Weed is the soma Yes. Okay. Thank you. This is what I want to talk about. Weed smokers need to be sent out into space. You can smoke your weed past the Van Allen belt. Okay? Anything below the Van Allen belt. That way we don't have to worry about it coming back into the atmosphere. How about that? If I was emperor, that would be my law. You can get past the Van Allen belt, you can smoke your weed out there. High on kombucha, man. All right. It is the soma. What I think is particularly dangerous about marijuana. You have to do edible. You have a pen. You don't have to light the. You just have your. I feel like I should find a pen that looks like a pen. You're just like. Out in space. And then you can just trip out in space. Be like, whoa, look at it, I'm in space. The dangers of weed are the subtle changes that it does to you that are unnoticeable. The way I think it does cloud your nous. And I don't think you can tell that while you're engaging or even stopping. Because I noticed it was years after I'd stopped that I started like introspecting about the way that I think about stuff. The way I pray and stuff like that. I'm like, I'm different. I don't even notice that for years after. That is scary. So there's these subtle changes that happen to the way that you kind of think about things and work that became obvious to me after stopping, that I'm like, it's incorrect. It's not actually a good way to think about. It's not a great, like, it makes it difficult to noetically kind of get into prayers and stuff like that. Um, it never made me depressed and angry. It could do different things to different people. But I find that that's far more dangerous. And it is a type of soma for society to keep, I think, to kind of keep them sedated and controlled and stuff like that. Vape Maxer. And so that brings me to another point that's so upsetting about it. Weed smoking in the 80s and 90s was counterculture. Not saying it was good, but there was something good in being kind of like not run of the mill herd mentality, right? It was just in your youth you directed in the wrong way, like in these kind of. But the good virtue was I searching for it, for authenticity, to have kind of courage against like the status quo, to stand up against that, to risk getting in trouble and being ostracized and stuff like that. Those are, it's just unfortunately it was directed in the wrong way. So with smoking weed in the 90s, you get serious trouble. And people are like, oh, those are the weed smokers, like those guys, right? It wasn't accepted. And what that did, because you could get in trouble and you had to hide, it formed kind of tight bonds among friends. I had to establish like trust. I can't trust everybody, right? You had to get kind of creative in terms of adventures. You'd have an adventure. Like I could really get in trouble and get arrested for this stuff. Okay? We're not playing it safe. We're rebels, right? And you, despite the vices in that, you learn certain kind of virtues. Then what happened? Counterculture became culture. Oh, it's legalized now. Everybody. So, the rebellious kid's the same as mom and dad is saying is the yuppie lawyer making the same as the. It's just, accepted that we. And now it's safe and it's legal and stuff like that. And I think that's a lot worse. I miss the days it was illegal. And number two, now everybody's high on. Like everybody's doing it. It's like legal. Like that's bad. Like at least it was confined and constricted to a certain group of countercultural kind of rebels. And it's same with smoking cigarettes, right? That was kind of countercultural. It's like, oh, those are the kids that smoke. Like obviously we know about them. And now what? Well, just make it safe, and now everybody does it. We just got vapes, right? Anyways, I could keep going on and on about that. But what was Cleve saying? Something about. Yeah, good luck, Cleve. You stepped into it, dude. You brought Rived on crashing back. Did you not know? I did the same thing to Alex when he had that Protestant. I'm like, Alex, you did it to yourself. He's like, did you see it? I'm like, you don't tell me. You did it. You decided to bring that guy on. So I'm half joking, but Cleve, you did it to yourself. What do you think it was gonna happen? I saw Ben. I must have seen you after church on Sunday. Didn't know. Well, I can't tell because of the handles, but I'm sure it was good to see you, Ben. I don't think. No, that's a great question, Derek. Did the church fathers ever encounter people who thought substances were good to combine with word? Yeah, they're called pagans and like probably from Bacchic cults, stuff like that. But they weren't. And remember, when they came in, though, the church worked really hard to rid any pagan influence of. So that wouldn't have been brought in like what you see today, where uh, you might find Orthodox Christians like, oh, it's okay, like it's not that big of a deal to. I don't know where to place that. What category is uh wrong or shouldn't do that we. I don't really know. That's a good. I would definitely say you probably shouldn't do it unless it's strictly for medical purposes because you don't want to take opiates or something like that, and you work that out with your doctor and your spiritual father. If you're doing it recreationally, I would definitely say that you probably shouldn't be doing that. I hope you don't. You can do better. You don't need it. Uh, but I don't know what category or what level to put of wrong. Yeah, the ghetto church, Cholo church, would definitely have weed in the censer. I wish I could play you that video. It's I can't remember the name of the guy, but it's just got too many f bombs in it. Because these kids, like, you met those people where every other word's like the f word, but it's like so, and they were making fun of it. It's like when kids first learn a bad word and like, what the f, like it just sounds so stupid, and it's just like you're just trying too hard. Anyways, they're young kids. I was making a joke with my brother. I'm like, these look like Laguna, like spoiled brat Laguna Beach high school kids. And the video is actually kind of old. Probably like from 8 years, 6, 8 years ago. Um, and they literally have vape channels. The guy's name is Matty Smokes. He's like, what is up? This is your boy Matty Smokes. And we're gonna smoke a jewel. We're gonna do a 300 Nick. Blah blah blah. And like, I might. They actually have videos about in channels. That's what's so weird to me is the whole vape. Do you guys mind if I go off on vapes? I think you guys like it. I think you like when I have my shtick that, like things that annoy me and want to critique beyond just arguments and stuff like that. Have you seen the Matty Smokes? Yeah, what if I told you smoking weed will turn you gay? Just like the frogs. It was actually when Alex said that they're trying to fog, they were giving them weed. Um okay. So what's so weird about the vape culture? Okay, so you have to let's go through the history of it. They had these metal cigarette cartridges, right? When they first came out, and totally useless and like expensive. People only use those to get off cigarettes, like actual cigarettes. And they burn up and like they were just awful, right? And so the technology was started to get better and better. I'm trying to think the next stage, and then you could have cartridges that replaced it, right? Rather than just buying the. Then my anxiety pen, my anxiety pen. Then it went to the. They started looking like this. This is what do they call these cams? But then it was like, right? They started getting bigger, and then you'd put the juice in and stuff like that. And then they came out with the Jewel that looks like a USB. Okay, by the time they got to this level, I started noticing an identity being formed. And for some in Southern California, it was like, I'm like, why are they always driving? Like, why are they Asians driving Subaru WRXs, right? And Tokyo Drift. What's the other? Kind of, it was like it started becoming that kind of scene. And I kid you not, at vape shops, they started having like vape contests, and like people were. I'm like, this is so weird. Um, do you know what I'm saying? The whole kind of what's the series? The race car. They have like 8 of them. Fast and Furious, drifting, and Fast and Furious. Yeah, it's got the whole kind of the rice burner kind of Asian seat. Like they really that kind of like formed. Um, and then you got Matty Smokes. Now you got YouTube channels dedicated to. He's like, get your vape out and we'll all smoke along and we'll talk about like what vapes are you using and stuff. And I'm like, what a weird vape competitions were 10 years ago. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And then I was thinking, could you pull that off with like cigarettes, like you had cigarette clubs, the Marlboro Club, and like I had cigarette. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're gonna. This is Matty Marb. We're gonna be smoking a whole pack of Marlboro Reds today, and people are like, "Oh, sweet dude, hey sweetheart, we gotta watch. Matty Marbs is gonna be streaming tonight, and he's gonna smoke a whole pack of Marbs. Like this is gonna be awesome. Like, would anybody do that with? You had you have Marb versus Camel competitions. By the way, they did sponsor, but that's a little bit different. But like an identity, right? Like, and that's what it's kind of taking the same thing as like weed culture has become an identity, vape culture has become an identity. I don't see how that's even possible with actual like tobacco. Like anybody would ever do. Now, why is that? Like, that's what I'm confounded about. Vape porn. But a cigar lounge, that thought came to me as a cigar lounge. Is it the same? We have a cigar lounge here. Yeah, tobacco culture. That's actually what the cigar lounge is here. It's like you have to pay a lot of kind of money. And they have scotch and lockers, and I think it's associated more with kind of status and recreation, and that's let me give another example that cigar lounges seem more equivalent to a gym membership. No, they're like clubs, right? So like we have you can buy like memberships to hot springs memberships and stuff like that. There's like club access and stuff like that, or like country club. Well, what do people do at the country club? Suppose they, so it's exclusive access that where people go to recreate, and then within the recreation area, there's these things that are considered kind of relaxing, but like a status, right? Of we have scotch and cigar. I think so. It's not that the cigars itself become an identity. The identity is kind of like a country club, kind of elite recreation in which you do that, and they call it a cigar lounge. Does that make sense? Am I correct? I'm willing to be corrected on that, but scotch and cigars. What if there was cigarette lounges? Would that be weird? The problem is, well, that's weird. Yeah, like each. There was an article that somebody wrote years back about philosophically analyzing pipes, cigarettes, and cigars, like what it means. Um. Anyways, come to where the flavor is. Yeah. This is really interesting. This whole phenomenon. By the way, I heard that. Is it true that like vaping's going down and people are returning to natural tobacco products? Never trust a vapor. That's interesting. So if you said status symbol, I was thinking back. What would you call? But it is something about it like a symbol. So it's like this is a status symbol. They smoke the cigar, drink the scotch. In the 80s and 90s, um, Gen Z smoked cigarettes. All of us had smoked cigarettes almost. That was, well, the countercult, like, oh well, that's a symbol. That's that group there. They raise tobacco and everyone smokes cigarettes. Sort of an identity, yeah. So what we're trying to figure out is what these kind of identities mean, how things have kind of changed. I suggest we bring snuff back. Did anybody actually really enjoy snuff in the 1800s? That's the real question. Hi, I'm Father Deacon Ananias. You're listening to KFDA. I'm your host tonight. We will be. We're doing a philosophical analysis of tobacco. Looks like. Isn't that funny how uh, things can just start one way and go off? That's a natural conversation. Don't force your conversation. Let them flow where they may. Go where the conversation goes. You don't like nicotine, caffeine? Missing out, man. Oh, one that's really okay. One other tobacco. Uh, has anybody heard of Doha? And Doha pipes and look at this. I was introduced to this, and when I was, we went. This is a crazy story. Right before 9/11, uh, a bunch of us from Thomas Aquinas College went to work as camp counselors in an air flight training camp. It was actually investigated. It like totally shut down. Like I don't know what they found on the investigation, but like, what are the odds? Like, I'm not making this up. It's a Middle Eastern tobacco product, if any. Does anybody know? It's not shisha. Okay, so Doha, it's they add special herbs and spices, but they're able to in the curing process make it extremely strong. And there's a little looks like a hash pipe called I think it's called a midwalk. And so when we went to what happened is the story. You guys like my stories? So we had two rival colleges, Roman Catholic College, Christendom and Thomas Aquinas College. It was obvious Thomas Aquinas College students were far more intellectually superior in the program. Um, but there was a guy that works connected to Thomas Aquinas College, but he went to Christendom College. And he met a guy, a military guy. And I don't know if it's because he served in the military and met this guy, but this guy, Jim, it was called his name was Jim Powers in the Powers family. And he served in Iraq and Kuwait and the and Saudi Arabia, those kinds of areas, and he met a bunch of very wealthy people. Um, kind of princes and sultans and these different. And I believe he was Air Force, and he got an idea once he retired that from all these connections he made in the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and these different places, that I mean, those people are really, really wealthy over there. That he would start an Arab flight training. He would teach these kids how to fly planes, and they would parachute out and stuff like this. And this sounds totally insane, but like it sounded a little bit different before 9/11 happened versus after, okay? And they paid big money to, and they'd, it was the entire summer that they would do this. And this guy from Princeton College and the Powers family linked up, and he was basically the camp counselor, and he liked it. Like, okay, so these Roman Catholic kids that came out of these colleges, they're not degens, and like they're respectful, and they'd make great camp counselors. So he'd said, oh, well, there's other people you can pull from Thomas Aquinas College too. So then we got contacted, a bunch of my friends, that's like, hey, there's this camp. You'd be camp counselors in Minnesota and Wisconsin. One was Eau Claire, the other one was Winona, Minnesota, were the two camps. And we'll rent you a van, pay for the van, pay for all your food. You get a credit card for expending. You get a free place to live. You work in the dormitory. You would work 2 days, and then I think 3 days. I forget what the schedule was. It's a lot like kind of like military and police, and it was totally military. Like we got, we had like the khakis and polo, I wish I could find some pictures of. I bet I have a picture actually in here of. So, anyways, then you get your own flop house for the day, like the days that you're off, and you could just, and they gave you a credit card. And then they paid you like, it was like 1,000 a week or something, 1,500. Like it was a really good. I'm like, I'll do that. So that's when we went out there, and that's when I started meeting these really rich United Arab Emirates Saudi kids. Isn't this one? And they have this thing called Doha. They're like kind of laughing. They're like, "Oh yeah, you gotta try this. It's tobacco." I'm like, "I could take tobacco. Give it to me, son." Must not be in these ones here. Anyways, it's not important. So it's a little kind of like hash looking pipe. My knees buckled. Like I literally lost consciousness. Like I was like, it was indescribable how strong it. And of course you like caught and you're just like, that is the most intense experience. Like I mean, I'm not kidding. Your knees buckle and you start to like go out, and then you come. It's really short. Um, it really like I couldn't. Anyway, so there's that too. There's shisha. We're doing a philosophical analysis of tobacco. I actually left early. I couldn't. I got a real insight into like Islamic culture working there. Um, Absolutely sexual degenerate. That was one of the major things we had a problem with these kids. They're all young. They were all like 16, like the word, like full hormone blown, like the word. It's like when they bring in invaders, right? They're all the same kind of age. Like this is what we had to deal with. Rich, sport, like extremely rich. They'd buy like TV. They just leave them on the grass. Like I'll just buy some tomorrow. Like I'd never seen people just so recklessly spend that much, have that much money to spend, and they were aggressive, extremely like hypersexualized, hyper aggressive, and the mob mentality. That's what I noticed about Arabs, especially Islamic. And I don't know what it's like in the United Arab Emirates, And but I hate using this word, but they generally have a misogynistic like culture. They, basically, women are absolutely just property, and they could do. And so we were having problems like cultural issues. So we had to be kind of trained. Like there's certain things that you don't like. You don't touch an Arab with your left hand. Does anybody know why? This is really funny. How many people know Arab culture? Yep, it's the poop hand. Um, that's why they call a left-handed deal. Is if you got caught stealing, they would cut your because you shake with the deal with your right hand, okay? Because it's not your poop hand, not my poop hand. But if you're an Arab, so if you get caught stealing, you or something like that, they cut off your right hand, so everything's a shitty deal. Excuse my language, right? You have to like always shake with a poop hand. Um, it's haram to put your. They're rarely Judaic, right? Pharisaical, kind of like obsessed with cleanliness, and so there's the clean and the unclean. Like they have this weird. You do not put your show the bottom of your foot. Like if you cross you're sitting here like that. You can't do. There's all these cult. We had to kind of do these kind of crash courses in like culture. But then on the other hand, as camp counselors, we had to tell them what's culture and society and laws like here, and there's certain things you can't do. One of those, and I had to keep telling these young guys, you cannot petition women for sex. Like that's prostitution. You'll go to jail. They're like, you know, my friend, we do this all the time, and I'm like, no, I'm not joking. You go to. They were like in the streets offering women like hundreds of dollars to like have sexual relation. We had to confiscate like blow up dolls, like pornography, and I'm like, these people are out of control, like out of control. Um, and they were aggressive. I remember my last day, and they won't listen to you. They're absolutely disrespectful, and they gang up in gangs. They fight you. They don't argue with you individually. They come into a gang, right? This is why you see him on like what's in the UK on the Preacher's Corner debate, whatever that. They're all in a gang, right? European Europeans fight people like okay, man on man. Let's duke it out. They don't. They're tribe people, and they think and operate and group think and try like that was definitely. And I remember we were going up the elevator with all these. It was like my last because I had it with I'm like, you know what? I'm leaving. I had a girlfriend that in Argentina at the time, and I was like, why am I? I'm like, why am I working here? I could be in beautiful Argentina with my girlfriend, and I'm stuck here with a bunch of Muslim teenagers, like constantly fighting. The whole thing started off bad. On the way out, one of my dear friends died in a car crash. We were we were we went to the airport to pick up all the students, and then so we were all assigned different vans, and then some of the workers, my friends, were assigned like the Penske kind of U-Haul trucks to take the luggage back to the dormitories. And we had those those Motorola. And so I was like talking to my buddy Dan because he was born in Minnesota too. And like, so it was kind of, and we're all kind of talking just from different vans or like joking and stuff like that. Now, Dan, because he was from Minnesota, decided from Minneapolis to Winona, Minnesota, he took a back road that he knew. And I remember at some point, like, not being able to get, like, Dan just stopped talking or something. Like, we couldn't get a hold of him, like, whatever. Didn't think anything of it. We get to the dormitory. Dan doesn't show. Everybody else shows up. And then Jim Powers, the head guy, he really liked me too. He like kind of appointed me as the leader of all the. He was like, you know what? He says your friend Dan died in a car accident tonight, and you need to go tell the rest of your friends that Dan's dead. And I'm like, and what happened is there was a big truck trying to make a U-turn on one of these country back road Minnesota roads, and he didn't see it at night, went straight into it and just crushed him and killed him. And I was so conflicted. It felt so weird because I always tell like I'm like they're gonna think I'm joking and they'll be like that's not a funny joke. But that I was commissioned because I have a sense of humor. I'm like to actually tell something, some devastating news that's absolutely serious. And like I teared up, was really emotional to have to do this, and exactly what I thought. They were like, "That's not funny," and I'm like, "I'm not lying." And when they saw when I was crying, like I let my tears flow. They weren't crocodile tears, but I didn't hold them back because I'm like, they'll know that this is for real. That we lost one of our dear friends that night. And the worst thing is that then the luggage showed up a couple hours later, and it was just all crushed up, and like you're just thinking about your friend. Like if the luggage looks like that, what does his body look like? Um, and they were like, you have 3 days off. You can mourn, and then we're back to work. Total military kind of operation. And so the whole thing just started off really rough. And his name's Dan Fleury. He's a Roman Catholic, but you can keep him in your prayers. I pray for him still. And just constant drama and fighting with these kids. Yeah, 3 days. Yeah. So I just told Jim, I'm like, I'm bowing out early. And he was like, well, I was going to promote you and like to be the head of the and give you a pay raise. I'm like, nope. I got a girlfriend. I'm like, that there's not amount of money you can pay me to deal with these people. And the last day we got in a fight, like in the elevator with these kids. They literally started physically assaulting me. I'm like, see, this is exactly why. Anyways, that's my. And then the next year, and it might have actually been that. I'm trying to remember what year that was. When we returned back is when 9/11 happened. I was like, oh. Like some of these kids were trained to like some of these people have Arab flight training. I'm like, oh. Whoops, that's crazy. So the whole thing, and then it got totally investigated, shut down. I haven't heard about the powers ever since then. Anyways, what are you guys talking about? But I learned a lot about Islam, and the culture from that experience. So I do appreciate. But that's when I experienced Doha. I went to a mosque and learned about um, what they do in a mosque and like how they like you have to wash your hands before, like obsessed with like cleanliness. Is that weird? Isn't that like OCD? I didn't even think about that. Do they have like theological OCD? Don't touch it. It's dirty. You have to scrub your hands now. For three, like they are. I didn't even think about that. They're religious OCD people. Um, what else before we depart? I got to get back to building my syllabus for. Oh dear Lord, they brought this guy back into the philosophy Discord. Good luck. Did he get booted? Let me see. Chase Haggard is gonna debate this guy tonight. Good luck. I've got a meeting with a parishioner. OCD Islam. That, by the way, I really like this guy in Thomas Aquinas College. His name was Kenneth. He's from Oklahoma. Benuturi 999. The counterculture really wasn't that counterculture. It was based on a consumer identity, hence consuming weed and yeah, it's culture creation. But yeah, I was the guy who sat next to you after church. Oh, right on. No, I won't say anything, but yeah, that was cool. I wish we could have talked some more, but hopefully we will go to Black Flag concert together. That'll be cool. Um, there was a guy I went to high school with. I mean, college, Thomas Aquinas College with. Is it pagan to smoke a full a cigar on a full moon? Well, if you're Baptist, everything's pagan. So his name was Kenneth. Now Kenneth helped me a lot of way because Kenneth was a dyed-in-the-wool Southerner, and he taught me about the Northern War of Aggression. And there was something at Thomas Aquinas College, like my even thesis advisor, they're like Lincolnites. Like, there was a lot of kind of weird kind of Straussianism too that, but they some of the professors were even like part of a like Lincoln group or something. They loved Lincoln. And I don't know, like just like everybody growing up, the Lincoln myth, we all like he's the hero, he's freed the slaves, blah blah blah, and um, I mean, there's really a mythology around Kenneth. I can't remember his last name. He actually broke that paradigm for like he said something to me, and that's what's always interesting. There's very few things that people say that are I'm just kind of like, huh, like that's a crazy thing to say, right? Um, like I never was offended at like when somebody questioned the World War II narrative. I was just like, and by the way, that had like there was somebody at a girl, Canadian girl, in Thomas Aquinas College that was like, no, yeah, like that's all made up stuff. Like, and I wasn't offended. Like I didn't get upset. I was just like, that's a crazy thing to think, and that's kind of interesting. So I always wonder why does some questioning somebody like official narrative or somebody's position make somebody so angry. And maybe there's a few things that I could go through and we could talk about it later that would. I don't know. Anyways, this one was Ken was like Ken said the craziest thing to me. He was like, I would have shot Lincoln myself. He was like the worst. He was like one of the most evil people, and I was like, oh, that's an interesting take. I started looking into it. Um, and Ken was right. Lincoln was awful. Like, and that kind of exposed me to the Lincoln myth. And what's the book that I read that we have it there? Hey Melissa, who was the guy that remember that we always used to read about the Lincoln myth? I can't remember the name of the book now. Tom De Lorenzo. Thank you. My wife's memory is so much better than. The Real Lincoln, I think it's called, was the book. Start reading kind of stuff like that. Yeah, the Real Lincoln. Unmasked is another. And then you start to kind of like, okay. Um, Anyways, yeah, I've got a whole bunch of, but Thomas Di Lorenzo has a lot of good stuff. What is? I reached out to Rebecca's really good at this stuff. I'm just a LARPer. I'm a northerner, pretending I'm southern. You can't trust me. Go to a real southerner. Go to Rebecca. Um, and the argument is like slavery was ending anyways. They knew that. Like the Civil War did not technically free the slaves, and it wasn't about slavery. Yeah, Distant Mama, go. She's much more versed in and could provide. Yeah, it was about a football exactly. Um. Anyways, it's a complicated mechanic, but Kenneth was the one that kind of broke the taboo and kind of got me to like there's always somebody in your life, right? If you think about like kind of normie narratives and official mythologies and stuff like that, there was always somebody that says something that shocked you. That was like, wow, that's really interesting. I had another person. He was my both my drafting teacher and my audio video teacher. He was also the football coach, one of the football coaches at Calvary Chapel High School. Now, Calvary Chapel's a dispensationalist school, and he was the first person that like told me, he's like, no, he's like, that's dispensationalist rapture theory. He's like, it's total nonsense. He's like, and put forth a partial preterist like view, and I'm like, he's like, oh yeah, most of that stuff happened in 70 AD. Like a 16-year-old here, 15, 16-year-old. I'm like, I wasn't offended too. I remember thinking, I'm like, they'll kick you out if they. I'm like, that's a crazy thing. I've never heard that. And I think they did. They kicked him out of teaching at Calvary Chapel. But he was again another person that came into my life that broke the spell of. I'm like, oh, there's people that believe other things that aren't the official narrative and story that um yeah, it's more states' right. I mean, obviously it's connected to slavery, but it's about individuals' state right to determine how and when and what ways to abolish slavery and stuff like that. And again, like I said, everybody knew. I mean, think about it. Almost everywhere in the entire world was able to get rid of slavery without a civil war. Anyways, um, Kenneth was helpful with that, but he had severe OCD. We were in work study, so work study time was quite like you worked. I forget how many hours a week you had to work, and then you get a discount in tuition. Um, and we worked. Thank God, I had an awesome job. Kenneth and I worked in the library. I was like on the computers all the time, and we call them the stacks. Like you walk and like pull books out. We had a rare book room, and I give people tours of. And you don't choose it; they randomly assign people like this. So I was just blessed. But I noticed that Kenneth, when we'd walk into the library, they're like glass doors, right? And he'd put his hands on the glass, and I'm like, why does he like put the handprint on? And then I figured out, I'm like, that's where nobody else touches. That's why he won't touch. And poor guy, man. I'd catch him in the bathroom and he'd just be scrubbing, almost bleeding. Um, his hand, like he just, And he constantly was in fear that he was going to get sick, and he would just obsess about it. And I remember looking for him one night because we shared the same dorm building. And I went into his room, knocked, and I opened the door. There's nothing in his room. And it was sprayed down with Lysol. I mean, he's a guy that literally would keep his, like, I always would see him, he just washed his clothes over and over and over again. And he kept his clothes in plastic bags. And then there was nothing, it was just an empty room that he slept, like, I don't even slept, like, it was super crazy. I'm like, that's OCD. Like, that's when we talk about, like, oh, this person has OCD. It's like, no, this guy actually legitimately suffered. Um, all right, I gotta go, but let's see. Do we have any other question? That was crazy, man. That we had what's his face come in, and I know people call me Father Deacon Patience, but like I'm not really like, my patience always goes so far. Like I just can't. I mean, I wasn't upset. It was kind of a little bit of annoying. It was also entertaining, and it was actually useful to see somebody manifest and like spiral out, and then use that. But like, if you keep playing, or like you keep hanging around playing and engaging in something like that, it'll pull you down. So you've got to kind of draw the line off. So thank you, mods, for getting the boot. I think once you see that, like, we've got all we could get out of that situation, in terms of kind of learning what not to do, and to see if there was any potential to turn it around or help the person, and it became obvious, not like scripture says, have nothing to do with a contentious man. After one or two times of rebuking, dust, dust, brush the dust off your feet, and treat him like a pagan. Goodbye. Like, good luck. Our prayers for you. Like, 49. What does it mean for transcendental categories to be grounded in the mind of God? Who is the mind of God? Never been there. Mind of God. Byzantium Big Boss, $10. Let me say a prayer. But sir, said up, drop the boogie. I could hit that up and yeah. Bad dang, but dang, dig it, bad it said. The boogie said drop up the boogie. I thought you were speaking in tongues. So grounding in philosophy is typically considered like types of metaphysical justifications, which give an account like, where do these certain things exist, how are they maintained, how are they known, what makes them knowing these things possible, are they normative in any sense. Like when philosophy talks about grounding, then I would say there's metaphysically these kind of necessary conditions for that to be possible. That's typically what. And so if you mean transcendental categories, and by the way, that's not what makes a transcendental argument transcendental, is that you're grounding transcendentals, and people get confused about that. What makes an argument transcendental is what's called a transcendental deduction. It can deal with transcendentals. It may not. Like, so don't get confused on that. So yeah, if you have transcendentals like truth, beauty, logical categories, universals, numbers, like those are typically things that we considered. Where do they exist? How do they exist? How are they known? And to say they're grounded in God or the mind of God, say the account of God shows how those things exist, right? His revelation, and they could be the only thing that could actually make those things known, justified, binding, etc. Now, if we say I would just say God. Now, if you say like they're grounded in the mind of God, what does that mean? Well, that would mean that numbers are created. So whatever transcendentals that we're talking about, they're created, like universals and stuff like that. That's what logic is based on, like law relationships between forms and universals and stuff like that. Those are created from divine logoi, which they're patterned off of. And they exist in the things that are created. And we treat the logoi as like, we call St. Maximus the things around God, like his ideas, right? That's what we would say. Good question. But yeah, it's a way to like not only just logically justify, but metaphysically as well. Do you know individual states could actually determine their own state religion too? Where's my reparations? Oh, I'd definitely side with the South. I don't think. I mean, we could talk about. Is that what you're talking about? As a doomer is just like it's all funded and. What's wrong with funding? This is what I always say. You know what? It's about two things I learned from Machiavelli: to hold the principles and ideas, but not so much that you're no practical good, right? And that politics is practicality too. That I shouldn't be what they would classically, stereotypically call Machiavellian. I have no principles whatsoever. There's a kind of balance between that, but like I don't care what's funded. I'm in for my guys. What's best for. That's what I kind of do when people critique of Putin. I'm like, I don't care. Like, I don't know his intentions. I don't know if he's a true Orthodox Christian or something like that. As long as he's making it better for Orthodox Christians, that's great. As long as the people funding it, as long as it's my guys and my side, right? And I would, as somebody born in the North, say, like, oh, definitely on the southern side of things. So I don't care if it was orchestrated or not or funded. Who cares? May my side win. That's. I still have principles too, right? But there's a balance. That's what I would definitely say with. Can you parse out the distinction you made and what translate that you said people get confused on? Oh yeah. So when they hear transcendental argument, because people present different types of transcendental arguments. Jay tends to talk and present, and this is probably where most people heard about tag, grounding the transcendentals in the mind of God, just like. And so they think that there's a link because of the name, right? What do they call that? It's like the fallacy. If the name, it's almost like a not etymological. but something close. If it sounds the same or it's the same word, it must mean the same thing and be logically linked to each other. So what makes a transcendental argument transcendental is not that it's dealing with transcendental categories, necessarily. That's what I'm saying. What makes it transcendental is it's a deduction, a type of deduction. And basically any transcendental argument is a type of deductive argument that says this is necessary for the necessary conditions for the possibility of something. There is this, I assert this something, and therefore I conclude in a deduction what's necessary even prior to the deduction to make those things possible. That's a transcendental argument. So you can make a transcendental argument from pencils, sense experience, meaning, transcendent, yeah. I want messing around with my mouth. But I noticed that that's a big... In fact, I was talking to my godson. I brought this up before. I'm not even going to start using and identifying the argument that we present from orthodoxy as a transcendental argument. Why? Because you have people like, oh, that's just Kantianism. Because Kant was the first one to identify that type of deduction and way of thinking is transcendental deduction in his Critique of Pure Reason. Anyways, I call it AA. It's a rehab program. You've gotten yourself to think incorrectly about stuff. And so what the argument really is an apophatic argument. If you understand what apophaticism is, you understand that's really, there's nothing that stands behind God. He's first in all things. There's no language, there's no words, there's no logical categories. There's no modal rules, etc. Everything is below God. And I have to speak and talk about that, right? And justify, right? Using those. I can't so I can't even prove God, really strictly speaking, by the things that are dependent upon him, by exalting them over him, or something independent. And so there has to be a reflexive or a kind of transcendental deduction that's moved from what's below to the necessary condition. And so people get confused, I think, with a lot of words. And so I'm always thinking about like how to make, like I told Jay to stop using, remember he used to present that argument, everything's circular at a paradigm level. I'm like, don't use the word circle. People will lose their mind. The whole world's full of circle bigots with circle phobia, and they can't, because people will be like, what's the difference between, well, orthodoxy circle, what's the difference between a virtuous circle and a vicious one? I'm like, just, obviously, people have a freak out with circles. They see a circle on a wall, something, hear the word circle, they just have a meltdown. So I'm like, maybe you should stop using that word. Don't use circularity. The people can't handle it. Okay? What do we call then? So I'm like, well, what do we call? So I came up with a new word. I started speaking in tongues. I bought a Honda, I bought a Honda, I should have bought a Kia. We should use triangles. Oh, it's not circular. It's obviously a polygon. It's a polygonic argument. Anybody that knows anything about anything knows it's a polygonic argument and not a circle. It's like I was dating this girl as part of a multi-mark pyramid scheme. I didn't want any. I'm like, I'm not having anything to do. I finally went to a meeting once, and they were like, "It's not a circle." Or sorry, it's not a triangle. And she flips it around because a triangle supposes that all the wealth is up here in that, but actually, it's a Ronald Reagan trickle-down triangle. Have you ever heard about the Ronald Reagan trickle-down triangle? Well, ladies and gentlemen, you can sign up for my Reagan trigonometry CI tactics in five simple hacks to hack orthodoxy, guys. You find that you're rocketing in your job, you're rocketing in your marriage, you're going to liturgy every day, but somehow, guys, you're just like feeling you're at a crossroad. Your life's not going anywhere. Well, congratulations. We've got Reagan trigonomics. 5 easy points to hack orthodoxy and monetize your friends. The reason why you're feeling that is because you're not making enough money. You are not being the Machiavelli that you really should be and monetizing your priest and all your friends and family members. But that's okay, because with Reaganomics trickle down wealth to me scam, I can teach you how you can give all your money to me and be thankful and appreciative, okay? How do I monetize these people? Isn't circularity the right term? Why isn't circularity? It's the right term, it's just confuses people. Like, if you use something, like, there's nothing wrong with the term. Like, look, I'm not a Manichaean. I don't believe that there's actual evil positive existence in a word. It is, but like, I have to walk people through, like, they're just incapable of thinking through. Like, they get hung up on circles for some reason. I don't... Father Ruslan. I don't know why. But that's part of the art of rhetoric. It'd be like, well, if the person's not getting, I'm going to switch up my language. You use a different... So I don't use circularity. I said recursive reflexivity. That's the one. I use the R word, the hard R. I might be able to do 5. The only problem, I'm gonna really try to come on the Q&A and monetize all your. If I can sell my Reaganomic trichonomic trickle down to FDA ortho hack scam on there. If I can plug that, I might. I have my bluegrass thing that night. I gotta see if I can get out of that, but I will try to. And if I can sell my Reagan trichonomic, trichonomics. People don't know vicious refers to vice, and the opposite is virtuous, so they don't know. Yeah, that would be cool. I love Father Ron and I are a team. Father Deacon Patrick sent you a message. Good to see you, brother. Gotta get down. I was talking to Father Thomas about coming down and staying with you guys and doing a little workshop. Can you ask Father Thomas, can I actually do a Reagan trichonomics ortho hack monetization scam, upside down pyramid scam talk at your parish? That's what I want to do. I'll be like, suckers, look at all the money I got. Ah. So, anyways, you're constantly, especially I was talking to my godson Tony about, we've been working on this with Russ Manning, the late Russ Manning. They're going to clip it. I'm in trouble. And then Outback Jack's going to finally he's going to turn it and be like, we finally got the evidence right here. We got him. We got him. Look at, does this look like my Jewish? This is for Jack. Hava, Jack, Outback Jack, Hava. Have you seen the one? I just realized this little head cam looks like Jewish. Jewish Jack, where are you, man? Oh, you got booted. We had Prof. Look at this one. This one's hilarious. I'm gonna send. Cleve, can I promote my new book? On your, can I plug my new book? Watch this. Okay, I'm gonna send this to my email and I'm gonna pull it up on. Can't believe this deacon makes jokes. I can't believe this deacon has a youthful spirit. Cleve, you're really gonna like my new book. So we're talking about how to monetize. All right, you guys ready? So Cleve's gonna let me plug my new book. Now, it's probably not gonna sell in Orthodox circles, but Cleve, I'm thinking since you had what's his face on with all the dispensationalists and stuff, that we really could market this. Okay, what do you guys think? Are you guys ready? Are you ready to see my new book that I'm going to be selling to all the Protestant boomer evangelitards? Here it is, guys. Here is my new grift. How to profit from the rapture. Getting ahead when you're left behind. There you go. Now, the investment guide the Antichrist doesn't want you to read. This is great. Best book ever. You gotta buy it. Like, even if you hate it, it's so good. You got like that grift is so good. You gotta buy it. Look at the title of that. And if that's not enough for you, I mean, just look at that last name right there. I mean, that is a name you can trust, right? Is that Cleve? Let's do it. Let's sell this thing, man. Let's monetize your subscribers. Yeah, it's a real book. You're like, you gotta buy it, dude, just because it's so outrageous. How funny is? But you know what? What do the canons say? Deacons are not supposed to. There's no humor in the diaconate. Never. By the way, I was thinking about something my uncle, when I was back in California, my uncle is talking about, my best friend, wonderful, I know he's a Protestant, but like truly like a saintly, if we can speak about that loosely, outside of Orthodoxy, as somebody having a saintly like character. My grandfather was very much like that. And uh we were telling stories about my grandfather and just what a character. Now, he was a rocket scientist, worked for JPL, brilliant, wonderful Christian, and see if I can find a cool photo. my grandpa and I loved him to death. You can see that that's me in the 80s, just giving my grandpa love. His Tex, he's got the old Texan bow tie there. And I realized something my uncle was saying. He was telling my grandfather was youthful, like he was a prankster. He was that like, and my wife was there hearing my uncle tell like stories about funny things and weird things that my grandpa would do. Just like he was always doing pranks, like and like he was really funny, and he was an old man who acted like a 20-year-old, but not in any retarded sense, right? But in a virtue, like he's a good guy. Like, do you know what I mean? It's not like, oh, he's really immature. He wasn't immature. He, do you see what I'm saying? There's a way to hold a youthful spirit while being mature, and being humorous and full of joy and life, and he was playful, and yet everybody loved being around him. Um, Unlike me, I guess I have some enemies, but I never thought my grandfather had anybody that disliked him. And I realized when my uncle was talking about, oh, that's where I get my humor from. I'm exactly like my grandfather. My grandfather raised me when my parents were working two jobs. We went on vacations. My grandfather was the first person to take me to Montana and let me, fall in love with Montana when I was a kid. And so Jack thinks that is a vice. There's a character flaw in me. I take that as a personal offense, not because of anything about me, but that's my grandfather. Like, I've taken that from my grandfather. I don't think that's... I will always be like this. I will always be youthful in spirit. People are always kind of shocked. I know he's making fun of me, saying I look old. Maybe I'm looking older, but people are always shocked to find out I'm 49, turning 49. And I don't think that's necessarily because of the look, but like, I think I have a youthful spirit, and I thank my grandfather for that. So, bug off, Jack. Anyways, I don't think there's any, like, I love humor. I don't love buffoonery, I love humor. And again, I see all those things that I've taken from my grandfather, and I thank him for. So if you hate me, you hate my grandfather. If you hate my grandfather, you kind of ain't welcome here, son. Orderly, I say, you lost, eh? Check out a homie rolled up here. Where you from, eh? They go after... Hey, Cleve, are you in the house? I have a question for you. Cleve. So, Cleve, they attack you. I'm sure, Cleve, you've never received any character attacks, right? So you might not be able to relate to this. Where do they always go for? Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I have a receding hairline right here. Cleve has a bigger receding hairline than me. Who cares? Like, but they just... You know why? Because they must think that we're feel bad about it. And it's like they're looking for like insecurity. Ask my wife. She always says, "Are you going to go out looking like that?" I'm like, looking like that? What? She says, "Fix your face and beard like you didn't..." I actually don't care what people think I look like. That's a bad thing. The jealousy of Norwood. I'm like, you're not gonna I'm not a looks maxer. I'm not concerned about the way I look. Just ask my wife. To my own detriment, right? That I should do better about that. I know. So you making fun of Cleves and my lack of hair. Um, look how I seen it like into like look how old this guy looks like. He's got a receding hair. Do you know what? I should pull it up. I will. I'll pull it up. I'm gonna show you what my classmates they had their 30-year reunion look like. And and then you can tell me why not. Okay, my wife says it's true. I can't do it. My one of my classmates was like, "You want to feel better about yourself?" I'm like, "I guess." And he sent me the picture. I was like, "Wow, they look old." So you can make fun of me. I don't care. I don't have any gray. All my classmates, they're all gray. They're all grays. So it's just so weird. Like I'm just tripping on Jack. Actually, it's such a weird thing that he's like, I have no problem with any clergy's never Bob except for you. Isn't that awesome? I actually do feel special. I'm the one clergy the clergy you love to hate. FDA. Father Ron. 3 internet celebrities now. Nothing specific. Yeah. You missed Father Ron. We had a real hater. Yeah, he didn't. I didn't. I'm not clear. He's. By the way, this is a common thing among the haters. Clergy they don't call them by their clerical titles. They'll say Josiah instead of Father Josiah. They'll say Ananias instead of Father Deacon Ananias. Now everybody like Father Ron is just too full of love and kindness and joy. I don't think you'll ever get it, but like I am a bit salty. Like you said, I'm a brawler. Um, people, I have a target on me. People, like Father Ron would never. I can never imagine people disrespecting Father Ron. Have you ever had that father, or like somebody's just? The problem is I've hung out with Jay too much and became mean. But Father Ron has not been tainted yet. He is full of love. A little bit. Um, but yeah, I saw it was a general trend among people that though they won't call him Father Stephen DeYoung. It's by the way, Father Stephen DeYoung is more salty than I am, and he gets it. He gets the people call him Stephen DeYoung. They won't call him by his. So these people believe that they have. There was a guy that came on. He was father. He was acting crazy. He was just like, "You should be defrocked. Like you're a terrible excuse for a human being. Um, your conduct." Like he was criticizing the what was it? Like I'm a 20-year old, but look like a 60-year-old, and he hates me. He doesn't have to respect, and I'm like, yeah, but you can't talk this really clearly. I'm like, I don't care what you think about me. And then he was threatening, saying, "Come to St. Andrew's, Father Josiah's parish, and he will confront me." I'm like, and I'm gonna stream it live. Yeah, Father Stephen Young's got more spicy than I've ever seen Jay. Anyways, it was kind of entertaining. It was kind of sad at the same time. A little bit annoying. Eventually, we had to give him the boot. I just don't understand. I've seen it in other places too. Hey, it's like, why do you spend all your time watching people's channels? By the way, I will be going out to Father just like he will see me. Like, I'm not gonna, we'll be doing something, so he's gonna hate it. He's gonna like shoot me or something. That's why I don't like. I've gotten such crazy hate emails and death threats. I've had to like file police reports and file security. That I'm always like, this is like somebody at some point is gonna just like one of these wackos like hunt me down and shoot me. Please make sure my wife's taking care of that if it happens. Okay, please. I'm being serious about that. Um, yeah, Father Stephen Young and I have a lot of common with care, like the way he. But I just don't get it. Like Cleve, I'm sure you get it too. It's like, do yourself like, what are you doing in your life? It's like, there's people. It's got to be some type of it's a demonic possession because I'm like I could see how it could happen actually. Let's say there's somebody you don't like. Oh, I'm just gonna go and look at what they're doing. I'm gonna, and then it gets what you all very angry. It's there was a I don't know. I think it was one of the dialogues in Plato where this guy's like he's walking by a dead body and he's having a battle in his soul between the appetitive and the rational. And the rational is like, don't look at it. The appetitive's like, oh, just one look. I mean, aren't you kind of curious to see what is he rotting? And it's like, don't. I'm telling you, you're gonna regret it. That's the rational. And he's having this back and forth. And unfortunately, the passions, the appetitive, wins over. And his intellect stops fighting and says, okay, eyes, take your fill, you son of a. He's just like super upset that it's like how they even fight. It's like you asked for like eyes, take your fill, full of just the profane disgustingness, right? Well, it's something kind of like that with people who bother. Like, what does he do? Like, and the moral and the spiritual and the intellectual side is like, don't do it. Don't even look at it. Like, who cares? And there's this battle in all of us, right? My wife tells me all the time, like, don't go onto that person's page and look what. Like, thank God I have a wife who keeps me in line. 11 pounds. Thank you so much, Z. I get it in my world. A few folks said to me this month, don't cast pearls before swine. I had to pay attention. I guess it comes when we put ourselves out there. Yeah. Good outweighs the ugly. Yes, amen. But so I'm just trying to go inward, but like, well, I've got it in me. I could see how that could happen if I didn't have a wonderful, beautiful wife that pulled me out of my nonsense sometimes. But like, no, I'm just gonna take. Don't worry, I got it. Just one more argument, sweetheart. I know what I'm doing. Right? She's right every single time. Like, don't do it. And then I'm like, oh God, I made a big mistake, and like I've opened this whole can of worms, and now I have. And she's like, I told you. I should be listening to my wife. I call her the counselor because she used to be a lawyer. Counselor. She counsels me. I make the decision, the final decision. She knows that. But she offers counsel. And it's good counsel. I should listen to it. And when I do, it's good. But I see that I have that in me too. Like, somebody annoys you. It's like, I want to see if they're talking about me. I want to see if, why. It's a demonic trap. It gets you in, and then you're just all upset and stuff. So I'm imagining something's like that too. Something in me, probably my friendship with Jay and Cleve, and it's all your fault, guys. Obviously nothing wrong with me. It must be my guilt by association. Because obviously my character is impeccable. I'm joking. That's a joke. Something bothers somebody about, and they're probably like, I'm gonna go on and like, and they want to actually trigger you too, but at the same time they're brought down spiral. But like, it's still just like insanity to be like, why would you go on somebody you can't stand and hate and watch all their stuff, like, and get all upset and argue with the, like, you see it's irrational, and so that's a sign of the demonic. Like, anytime that happens with us or somebody else, we're being possessed um, by some sort of spirit like that. All right, it's time to go. Unless there was one more question. This guy listens to his wife. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad when I listen and do. All right, good to see you, Father. Cleve, I'll try. Again, I do have a commitment. I play every Tuesday night. But that is early enough that I might actually be able to do that. Because you said Eastern. So we're 2 hours difference, is that right? Mountain Standard? Yeah. Let's plan on it. If I gotta bow out, don't hate me. How do I monetize? I told you. You sell those books, How to Get Ahead When You're Left Behind. The financial success book that the Antichrist does not want you. Do you have a mandolin or banjo player? Okay, so let me tell you, typically, sometimes it can be really big. We used to have a dobro player. He left. We have a bass player. We have most people play guitars. Some fiddle players. If you count me, that's 3 mandolin players. 2 to 3 banjo players, depending on yeah, and then there's a lady that plays sometimes brings in, I think that's it. I think I covered some lady brings the Irish drum. I forget blanking on the name of. I just got, like, I'm gonna learn banjo. I just got a banjo. Somebody gifted me. No, I would kick somebody out if they brought piano. I'd be like, get out. Like, have you? That would be really. That would really mess up. That would be really hard to pull off piano, and I don't even know how you'd bring in a piano. Like, oh, somebody's, I think, tried to bring in a keyboard. Like, you can't do keyboard and bluegrass. That's not. Play the recorder, cowbell. I need to repair. But here is. It's a bass, so it's only 4, which I'm kind of bummed about because I wanted to learn to pick rather than just do the chords. So with the 4, head needs to be repaired there. It looks like this thing is like coming off on the... Oh, I see. Whoa! A bunch of... Dude, I didn't even think about opening this. Bunch of pigs. Banjo strap. So I guess I'll be learning the bass instead of, but who knows, maybe, I mean, does it ever hurt to have more instruments and learn more things? Maybe. I don't know. When does it become when does having too many instruments become a detriment? I don't know. But anyways, I was happy to get that in California. And the banjo, not a guitar. So I'll go get that fixed. I gotta get new strings and stuff like that and mess around with it. But I'm gonna bring it in next Tuesday and let the banjo players take a look at it too. But thank you so much for your support. God bless you guys. It was a good stream. And until next time, God bless. May the Lord keep you in his grace and preserve you. Bye-bye.